everyone. My name is Tom Perez, and I have the privilege of serving as a senior advisor to President Biden and the director of our Office of Intergovernmental Affairs at the White House. In that capacity, I spend a lot of time working with our state and local partners on a wide array of issues. And from day one, the president and the vice president have been personally engaged in the post-recovery efforts. Frankly, from a week or so before these events, in the pre-planning phases, we knew that we needed to be prepared. We knew that we needed to continue to work in partnership. And that's exactly what we have done. Mayor, you've been a spectacular partner, and I want to say thank you to you and for everything that you have done. The folks here in Richmond County have been remarkable. We will continue to work very closely with the governor and his team. We are all in this together. This is not a moment about Democrats, Republicans, and independents. This is a moment about helping everyone, about neighbor helping neighbor. That is what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have done. As you know, the vice president visited here in Augusta shortly after the disaster, and both the president and the vice president continue to closely monitor the situation, and I personally continue to have conversations and updates for all of them. Our trip today, we went around town. We met many community members. We met leaders. We went to the FEMA Center where people are applying. I would say for me personally, it was simultaneously a sobering visit and an inspiring visit. Mother Nature really dealt a cool hand to the residents of Richmond County. But sometimes when things are at their worst, you see communities rise up at their best. And that's exactly what I observed this morning. Helping out. We see the unfinished business. There's still people with housing needs. There's still people with basic food needs. There's still people with other needs for their family. And that is why the president so quickly, after literally, when I say quickly, I'm talking about hours after the request for a major disaster declaration was submitted, the president granted that. And we got right to work on all of the things that need to be done. The mayor mentioned the amount of debris that was removed already, over 600,000 cubic yards. To put that in perspective for viewers, that's the equivalent of about 6,000 football fields worth of debris. Think about that. 6,000 football fields worth of debris have already been removed. The mayor has correctly pointed out that by the end of the recovery efforts, it'll be somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million cubic yards, I should say, of debris will be removed. So you do the math on that. Somewhere between 12 and 15,000 football fields worth of debris will have been removed. That is the most vivid illustration I can think of the fact that this is indeed the most dramatic storm, the most damaging storm in at least 100 years and perhaps in the entire history of this wonderful community. And that has not stopped the recovery efforts. In fact, people have redoubled their efforts from day one. And the first responders who stepped up from day one, I want to say again, thank you. We have local law enforcement here. You are heroic. And I wanted to say thank you to you for the work you've done on behalf of the president and the vice president. And when the vice president was here, she said, in these moments of hardship, one of the beauties about who we are as a country is people rally together and show the best of who we are in moments of crisis. That's what I have seen all day throughout my visits. The best of this wonderful community of Augusta, the best of this wonderful county. And we will continue to see the best. I had a chance to meet with some of the folks from Team Rubicon who are providing all sorts of critical services. Their service extends not only here in the United States, but around the world. Again, stepping up so that we can move forward. You look around the entire state, FEMA has now signed up, as of last Friday, roughly 345,000 people for assistance as of last Friday, and that figure, I'm sure, has grown by the thousands since last Friday. I appreciate the leadership of Administrator Criswell, who has not only been here but she's been multitasking by necessity because of the storms that reach from Florida over to North Carolina that you're all well aware of. Georgia has done a remarkably incredible job in this recovery. And I want to make sure people know that while I'm here today to survey the progress, we are going to have your back. The Biden-Harris administration is going to have your back for as long as necessary to get the job done. And that's why within a week of the hurricane making landfall, the President and Vice President approved, again, as the Mayor pointed out, the 100% federal cost share for emergency response activities here in Georgia. And put that in plain English, that means the federal government pledged to cover 100% of the costs associated with this response and recovery efforts, like the debris removal, first responders, search and rescue, shelters, mass feedings. That's what we will continue to do because it is what we should do. And that is why we will continue these efforts. And we continue to prioritize life-saving and life-sustaining response efforts in impacted communities. We have already begun together the conversation about how do we anticipate this? Because we can call this a 100-year storm, but as our climate change imperative illustrates, we don't know if it'll be 100 years or 10 years or 2 years between now and the next extreme weather event. And so as we move forward, one of the big items of discussion here is how do we build resilient recovery? How do we, as Wayne Gretzky used to say, you don't skate to where the puck is, you skate to where the puck's going. And how do we make sure we get ahead of the curve in our rebuilding so that we can anticipate things? That's exactly what we're doing. And we will continue to do that. In the meantime, FEMA has already provided more than $182 million in individuals and household assistance to thousands of survivors here in Georgia from the hurricane. And it continues to be a whole of government event, a whole of government effort. I spoke when we were at the Disaster Recovery Center with one of the SBA representatives. They're here working not just with businesses, but with homeowners to address your needs. And the President and the Vice President are going to continue to work in a bipartisan fashion with the Congress, and I am confident that we will work successfully to make sure that the necessary funds are there to address not only the needs here in Georgia, but the needs of victims of these incredibly problematic and 100-year events that have occurred across the region and across the country. And these investments that have come already are helping people to pay for essential items like food, water, baby formula, other emergency needs. More than 5,000 federal personnel are on the ground supporting the response. I was asking some of the FEMA folks, how long have you been here? I've been here 4 weeks, I've been here 5 weeks, and they'll be here as many weeks, is what I was told is necessary to get the job done. And to date, FEMA has shipped over 11 million meals, more than 9.6 million liters of water, and opened up 65 disaster recovery centers throughout the affected communities. This is what it's all about. And what we have to recognize, as I said a few minutes ago, is that storms like this are all the more common as the climate crisis rages on. And that is why, prior to Helene making landfall, the Biden-Harris administration took significant steps and made extensive preparations in concert with our state and local partners. We know that there is much more that remains to be done, and we're going to be here, as I said before, for as long as necessary to get the job done. Mayor, we have your back.
Thank you.
President Biden has your back. Vice President Harris has your back. And to the community, the President has your back. The Vice President has your back. The entire administration has your back. We are going to continue to work in partnership. You have been heroic in this community. We applaud you. We mourn the families who have lost loved ones, including a family member of the mayor's. This has touched everybody in a very personal way, and we understand that, which is why we are all the more motivated to make sure we are here for the long haul. Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you for your partnership, and I think we're happy to take any questions if people have them.
Actually, this is for you. I wanted to get an update on city-owned cemeteries. I know they've been closed since the hurricane. Any timeline on when they'll reopen and the assessment of how much it will cost to repair the damage of the cemeteries?
Yeah, so our cemeteries too are most historic, certainly were damaged as a result of Hurricane Helene. That assessment continues and that they're historic in nature, and we're making sure that all of those evaluations are taken proper care and that so we can receive 100% reimbursement from FEMA.
Any idea when they'll reopen?
I don't have a timetable on that right now, but I assure you that in the case there are burials, we were trying to make accessibility to those, but as of to date, we have not had the need to have a burial in any of those, either of those two cemeteries, primarily Magnolia or Cedar Grove.
The 90-day time frame, does that start the day that we are declared an emergency, or did that start the day that crews started cleaning up the debris in the city? For the 90-day time frame, does that start the day that we were declared an emergency, or does that start the day that crews started cleaning up the debris of that stuff?
That's yet to be determined. Then I think there's going to be the ability through GEMA for us to have a determination as to when that start date occurs. We're hoping as a city that it starts the day we actually clean up, which will give us 4 or 5 additional days of 100% reimbursement. That's our intent. Any other questions? No, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it.